How's it going, everyone? So it has been quite a while since I did one of these episodes, right, where it was just kind of me talking, not about a specific topic or anything, but about what's to come, really. And so, the past few weeks have been pretty busy, to be quite honest, and I felt like I just needed a break from putting out the second episode of the week for the past couple weeks. And so that's why there wasn't two episodes the past couple weeks. But what I've been doing, if you're listening to audio only and you don't know this already, or maybe you're watching on YouTube, but I have a YouTube channel now, right? So I post every interview up on YouTube. I have clips that release every single day of those episodes, and more is to come of that, right? So I'm developing the whole YouTube channel, turning these episodes into shorts and clips and all this other stuff. So I actually have a lot of stuff, going on, and I'm augmenting, kind of the offering, right, of the podcast to be able to reach more people. And if you're a part of the 98% of my watchers or viewers, I guess, on YouTube that is not subscribed to me, please hit the subscribe button. I really can't emphasize that enough. Um, it helps out the YouTube algorithm with obviously, you know, um, getting me more eyes on the podcast, getting more people the help that I'm trying to provide to people with this podcast. And so it helps me out and it helps out the community, honestly, because it's drawing more people in. It's letting more people know that they can do cybersecurity, just like the other millions of people have done before. So, please, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. I'm going to start saying that just about every episode now. Um, but yeah, it's been a crazy year, and it's also crazy to think that the year is ending, right? I mean, uh, 2024, like it doesn't seem like it should be, a week or two away, right? But it is. Um, my brain is kind of still back in August, to be completely honest with you, just because so much stuff has been, going on. It's been rapid fire. Every week is another big meeting, another big milestone, something else that I'm doing, changing, altering, making better in some different ways. Um, and so, it's been a good year. It's been a jam packed year, and that's how your years should be. To be completely honest, when you're in your 20s, when you're in your 30s, maybe even when you're in your 40s, your weeks throughout the year should be jam packed with stuff. It's just not anything, right? During the week, Monday through Friday, most of that is geared towards my 9 to 5, any side gigs or consulting that I'm doing. It's geared towards the podcast. It's geared towards me getting new certifications. So I'm studying, right? All those different things. And then obviously, after work hours, I watch where I devote those after work hours very closely because I don't want to be misusing those hours, because those are hours that I could have been spending with my family, right? That's a huge thing. And then obviously on the weekends, it's typically reserved for family or hobbies. And if something is, cutting into it, it must be pretty important to be taken away from those two things. So that's just how I view it, right? And this should be going on, all through your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s, to be quite honest. And the reason for that, right, is to expand. It's to grow. It's to become better, in every way possible that you can. Um, I sometimes it's hard to go on YouTube and look at people, potentially that you went to high school with, or look at, other people Um, other successful podcasters, for instance, that are making millions upon millions of dollars, right? Or at least the people that you went to high school with, they make it look like they're making that kind of money. It's really easy to look at that stuff and then feel down on your own self, right? But you really have to tune all that stuff out. And this time of the year, especially the last, week and a half, 2 weeks of the year, you should be planning out your 2024. You should be planning out your finances. You should be setting your goals for your business, for your 9 to 5, for your consulting, for your certifications. You should be setting your goals for, your own personal accomplishments, right? Maybe it's getting into better shape. Maybe it's, developing a relationship with, whoever or whatever your God is, right? Um, there's so many different ways that you can approach goals, and I'll go over that more in a couple weeks. As I have my own goals more ironed out, and I have my own roadmaps ironed out for the entire year. I'm getting to the point where I almost kind of need to set like a roadmap for a couple years almost. Um, but this year has been fantastic. The podcast, has grown significantly, and in 2024, I think it's going to do just as well in terms of growth, in terms of reaching more people, um, especially in terms of the quality of the content. My background right now, obviously, is very messy. It's really messy. I haven't spent that much time on it. I can do better. And so, one of the things in 2024 is I'm going to be fixing my background, right? I'm going to make it a better scene, right? Because I feel like that just helps with the atmosphere of the podcast, of, a viewer tuning in. They want to see someone that's put together and whatnot. And yes, guess what? I'm rambling right now, right? It's late, it's midnight, at the end of the week, and I just wanted to, touch base with you guys and let you guys know kind of what's been going on. Um, so all of next week, I'm taking the podcast off. I'm not going to post any episodes next week. It's the week of Christmas. So, I wouldn't expect that many downloads or anything to begin with, to be completely honest with you. Um, because, at the end of the day, you should be spending time with your family. You shouldn't be spending time with Security Unfiltered. As much as I love all of my listeners and all of my viewers and everything, right? Um, who would I be if I didn't practice what I preach, right? I always tell people, take the time for your family, you know, spend time with your family, right? And if I'm telling you to do that and I'm not doing it myself, then I'm a hypocrite, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. Um, but yeah, and something interesting, a side project that I have going on, I guess I'll talk about it is, I'm actually creating a book. And I don't know if this book is actually going to be released to the public. I haven't put much thought into that, to be quite honest with you. It's going to be a video series, um, and it'll be condensed into a book, or maybe not condensed, but you know what I'm saying. It'll be transformed into a book and whatnot. But really, the whole thought behind this book is that in IT, when you are changing roles or you're changing jobs, you're going to a new company, or maybe you're retiring, right? It's expected that you do what is called a brain dump. And what brain dumps are is, you literally tell, your predecessor or whoever else is on the team that's going to be taking over your work, um, exactly everything that you know about the environment, everything, all documentation that you know of or that you have, um, all the ins and outs of the different systems that you've created and whatnot. It's your responsibility to tell them. And, growing up, I didn't have a positive male role model, right? Which being a man, and now being a dad, um, I see the importance of having that. And I never had that, right? And so I am writing this book from the perspective of I wish I knew this 10, 15 years ago. What do I know now that I wish I would have known 15 years ago, right? That would have given me that head start. That would have given me all that information so that I could dive into it and maybe be a little bit farther along. And this is information that I would expect, to be quite honest, that, a father or a parent would be teaching their kids, right? And it's just something that I was never taught. And so I want to ensure, that God forbid I get hit by a bus or something, right? And I want to make sure that my kids, know me, that they know the things that I've learned, that I've grown through, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, if you're interested in maybe seeing the video of that or seeing getting the actual physical book, maybe leave a comment, maybe like the video, let me know somewhere, right? That that's something that you're interested in, because maybe if I get enough traction, I will actually release it. But at a minimum, that's for my family. That's what it's being put out for and whatnot. So I just wanted to talk about that a bit, right? Because this is the time of the year where you start setting your goals, and for me, I have to recalibrate my goals, right? Where do I see myself in 5 years? What do I want to be doing in 5 years, right? What does that look like? What's the kind of life that I want to have in 5 years? All those sorts of questions, you should start pondering them, right? The year is winding down. You're probably not doing very much of anything. 2024 is going to be starting very soon, and you want to hit the ground running. The best way to start doing that is by, imagining what you want to look like or where you want to be at the end of 2024, and then work backwards from there. You set goals, literally write them down. You set goals for where you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. I'll tell you a goal that I set for 2023 that I failed, and it's certifications. So I set three goals for certifications. I set the CISSP. I set renewing or retaking essentially the AWS Security Specialist certification and taking the AWS Solutions Architect Associate level certification. So I had the AWS Security Specialist cert. Previously, I got that several years ago and it had expired. But with the timing of the certification expiring and the timing of my schedule during the summer timeframe, so it expired in September, and then my entire schedule for the summer was devoted to the CISSP because of the deal or whatever that I got through ISC squared required me to take that exam within a certain time frame, right? So it was kind of just devoted to the CISSP. I figured no big deal. I'll just take the next exam for the security specialist and I'll be fine. Well, I took it, and to be quite honest, I put off studying for that certification, for the AWS security specialist certification, for months, for basically the whole year, for being honest. Um, and I last minute discovered, oh, I have to take this certification tomorrow, and I can't, I can't reschedule it. It's too late to reschedule. They won't let me reschedule. So I went and took it because you're getting that experience, right? And my company paid for the certification. It's not that much money. I think it's like $150 or $200. Not crazy. Um, And so I went into it and I figured the experience of it would be beneficial, which it was. And the thing with this exam, it's a very difficult exam. So, I don't know anyone that has taken that exam and then, walked out of there confident that they passed. I've never heard of that from anyone, and I definitely did not feel like I passed. I felt like I was right in the middle. I felt like if I passed, it would be very close, and I felt like if I failed, it would be very close. And within 30, 45 minutes, I found out that I had failed. It wasn't surprising to me. And to be quite honest, um, I kind of expected it to a certain extent. But when I did pass this exam several years ago, I felt the exact same way. I wasn't sure if I had passed or failed. And that exact same feeling, I think I even wrote that in my blog, which that's another area that I'm going to be, redefining and kind of reintegrating into the content platform that I have here is the blogs. But I think I even wrote in the blog that, with that exam that I took, um, if I felt like if I passed just barely, and if I failed, I probably failed just barely, because those questions are extremely complicated and they're talking about the minute details of these different security services in AWS and how you can manipulate them to do different things within AWS to essentially, get you any kind of information that you may want. Just to give you, a little bit of background about how difficult this certification actually is. Um, I've frequently work with and talk to Amazon and AWS employees, engineers, architects, technical program managers, all of the above. And every single one of them, as soon as they saw that I had that certification, they all said, there isn't a single question that I could ask you that would stump you. It's all just going to be frustrating that you're getting asked these questions because they're not going to challenge you. And so I'm going to skip all these technical questions ahead of time because I know you are well rounded in it. And, every once in a while, you'll get someone that gives you a technical question. And literally, due to the nature of these exams, these certifications, due to the nature of them, it's a softball. But for 95%, 98% of the people that they're talking to, it is not a softball. It's just that when you get these certifications, you have to work yourself up to that level and you really have to build yourself up significantly. And guess what? In AWS, right, they release an insane amount of services every single year. I think in 2023, they released over 20 new services. Um, that's insane. There's over 200 different AWS services now. When I first started getting into AWS, I think there was 30 or 40 AWS services. That wasn't that long ago either. That was like 10 years ago. Okay. And now there's over 200. And so that adds a curveball in and of itself to my situation, right? I didn't have the time and I didn't take the active effort of setting aside the time to actually study for this exam. And then going into it, there's services that I just simply did not study for, did not prepare for, or anything like that. And so I failed the exam. And maybe I'll write a blog about it or something, but this is exactly what happened. Um, and so I actually plan on taking that, I believe, either at the end of February or the end of March. I think it's probably the end of March. Really just accomplishing those two AWS certs, in Q1 of 2024 is my goal. And then I'm going to try and obtain the CISM and probably at this point set the goal for 2025 to be the AWS security or the AWS solutions architect professional cert. And at that point, I don't see myself getting any any more certs. I might get like an offensive security cert down the road, um, because I think that that would be really interesting. It'd be really cool. Maybe a forensic cert, but I'll definitely take a break from certifications for a while. But as you can see, right? I'm already setting those goals. I'm setting the stage for what I want to do. And I have a study plan in place. I have the study resources in place to take and pass the Solutions Architect Associate certification. The first week of January, I'm going to start studying for this cert every single day, 7 days a week. I'm going to spend an hour to 2 hours every single day studying for that certification. And when I pass that, I'm going to go after and tackle the security specialist cert. That's how you have to do it. That's how you have to go about doing it. But, again, I don't want to be rambling or anything like that. I don't want this episode to be super long of me rambling about all this different stuff. But, I wanted to throw it out there. And, another thing when you're thinking of goals is your mental health. What goals can you set? Maybe it's a monthly goal or every 2 weeks or something like that that you can do to strengthen your mental health, to make sure that you are in the best mental health state that you possibly can be. um, I think that that is something that is still not talked about that much. um, and it's interesting, right? Everyone always says, oh, take care of your mental health, and oh, I got to do better with mental health. But how do you actually do that? For me, what works for me is exercise. Exercise works a huge amount for me. And then, on top of exercise, I also try to, get outside, go for walks. And I also try to do sensory deprivation tanks, and I find, that there's a lot of benefit in that for me. And, on top of all of that, with the workouts, so when I was talking about working out, lifting weights, primary way, but hard cardiovascular exercises, running for a long amount of time. I got to the point where I don't even run for time anymore. I run for distance. So I set a goal, maybe today I want to run 5 miles, 7 miles, whatever it might be. And I'm not coming back until I'm done. Like, and I'm not giving up either, because I have ingrained it into my head that every step forward is a step in the right direction. And I only give up, it's only giving up if I'm sitting in my car. That is when it's giving up and I didn't hit my goal. And I'll be honest with you, it's happened a couple times. There's been a couple times where I didn't recover properly, went out on a super long run and I couldn't finish it. And here I am sitting in my car, maybe halfway through, hurting, not able to continue going. And I gave up, right? But that's only happened maybe two or three times. To be completely honest with you, maybe two or three times. Because for the most part, as long as I'm able to walk at a minimum, I consider that to be progress. I consider that to be positive. And so I just keep going with it. It doesn't matter how bad it hurts. Um, it's it's something that's difficult. You got to do something that's difficult. I feel like as humans, and I'll wrap with this, as humans, right? We always try to just not have a difficult path, right? We try to not have struggle. And all that that does is it delays it. So I heard a quote years ago, and it really kind of reshaped how I viewed my life. And it said, you're either going to grind in the beginning of your life or you're going to grind at the end of your life. There's no bypassing it, there's no way around it. It's up to you to choose when you want to do your grinding. Now, for me, I would much rather grind in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s than grinding in my 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I hope I live to 100. I think that would be awesome. But, you have to think about it in terms of that. Do I really want to spend, let's say 80 hours a week? working my 9 to 5 and doing all the side stuff that I do and studying for certifications and running a podcast? Not necessarily, but would I rather do it now than when I'm 50? That answer is yes. And what I'm doing now is building towards something that I want, something that I will achieve, something that I will live in when I'm in my 50s, when I'm in my 60s and 70s. Um, this is, just a little bit about me. My mom never got a career. As soon as I came along, she stayed home. She was a stay at home mom for 30 years. When my dad left, she had no way of providing income. And so, she took the only job that was around. It was the lowest paying one, and she's stuck there, right? The only way that she makes ends meet is because my sister basically pays for everything, and yeah, like it's a shitty situation, but she didn't grind in the beginning of her life, and now she has to grind at the end of her life, and she's regretting it. It's different when you're at the end of your life and you don't have to do anything. You wake up every day and you just be like, where do I want to go today? What do I want to do today? You know, maybe it literally is, let's buy a plane ticket and we're flying to Japan or something like that, right? Like there's nothing holding you back. But that's my thoughts. More to come in the new year, of course. Again, I'm taking off this last week of the year. I'll be back January 2nd with a new episode. That episode is going to be fantastic. I'm telling you right now. That episode was a fantastic interview. It was with someone that was already on the podcast and they wanted to come back on. So, with that, guys, I hope everyone has a great holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you just, celebrate the holiday season or whatever it is, happy holidays. I hope you have a great time. I hope you're safe with your family. I hope you have some time to, unwind and relax and then hit 2024 hard with recharged batteries, new goals in mind, new mindset towards everything. All right, guys, that's all that I have. See ya.